Hi, Bella. Hi, Bella. Nice to see you again. I think when we'll finally meet live, it will be like we'll have that feeling that we know each other forever. The nice parts of Zoom. So today we will discuss the keys or gates that activate the Libra or that are activated by the Libra energy. We are now on the cusp going from Virgo to Libra. So it's, I think it's exciting. We are entering a new sign. And I know you, Bella, have some placements here. So I guess it feels in a way for you. Yes. So this will be today. How do you feel about it?
I feel like the 46 has been alive. We had Venus going through the 46 a little while ago and now Mars. So I basically have people that are a little bit more into astrology. My Mars, my natal Mars, has the transiting Mars on it. And that only happens every 2 years because that's the time it takes for Mars. So for me, I feel like the 46 has been very activated. And I think it's the super galactic center as well, has to do with that 46. And I like it also understanding that it has both Virgo and Libra. And I think we might have spoken about that last time, but I was watching a video from Brazil, a Brazilian astrologer who was speaking about Mars as like how sexually, how we express ourselves. And it just made so much sense to me to hear that 46, what I can feel in my own relationship to that, like both the Virgo, more kind of body, physical, but also that in relationship, maybe not as a sexuality, but always feeling into that harmony or disharmony and wanting to find the harmony, and sometimes for me, sexually, there has been breakdowns that the other is like, well, why can't you not just go along? And I'm like, no, there has to be a breakdown. There's the only way of really coming into that harmony. I kind of know that sometimes it has to break down. And it's been interesting. It hasn't happened, like it's happened in several relationships where I just know it has to go there. And a part of me, because I have so much Libra, it's like, no, I don't know. It's uncomfortable when it breaks down. But then I've learned that it's worth the uncomfortable, because when Libra can find that true harmony, equilibrium, that's when real beauty can happen. That's when Venus can really express herself. So that's my personal experience, and why I also feel like this year, in this period with first Venus and then Mars and now the Sun, like it's a lot of 46 happening.
Nice. I resonate with some of the parts you said. So I'd like to first say about the Libra bit. As you said, many people come wanting to know more about astrology or are interested in astrology, and then of course we'll go each by each in each of the keys. So what's essentially important for the Libra archetype from my perspective is this need for justice and for balance and for equilibrium. So there are two signs I always associate with fighting for justice. One is Libra and the other one is Sagittarius. But Libra won't have the sword or the arch. Libra just has that social part of fighting for justice. That kind of a very acute, and we're seeing the 57, that kind of intuition that, something is fishy here. So Libra, I think, brings this need for balance, and especially need for balance and for honesty in relationships. Libra, wherever you have placements in Libra, it's about that kind of I receive and I give, and I want that balance to be fair. The other part, as you said about Venus and Mars, I think that's beautiful, and the Libra season is a nice season to work with these energies. What is our Mars? What is our Venus? And how is that balance between the masculine and feminine side in ourselves? Because sometimes it might be inner conflict and then it's outer conflict too. Libra is, from my perspective, the Venusian energy. Libra is governed by Venus. So everything related to beauty, to smell, to surroundings, everything like that. Maybe this is why I wanted to be outside, I don't know. But everything related to the Venusian part is important for Libra. So we are entering this kind of portal. Even Taurus is, as we are governed by Venus, but Libra even more. So if you feel you want to make changes in the house, changes in the way you look, changes in the way you treat your body, it's a great season for that. Venus just helps us with that. So that I would say the general idea of Libra, whatever placement you have there, maybe it's rising, doesn't matter, Jupiter, whatever it is. So, okay, do you want to add something here? Is something that you want to add about Libra? Is it something that pops?
I feel like just one thing I've been contemplating Libra and understanding there is it's also masculine, because if we think about Taurus, it's more the body, it's more like the inner, it's more like the contention, and then Libra is very outgoing and kind of, you know, go that cardinal aspect of like going out and seeking, you know, airy in that sense. And I feel that is something before, because it's connected to Venus, I hadn't really felt that kind of action. But it's almost like when it comes to Taurus, that people come into you, people come home, and you bring them into your home, and then Libra is out there and creating connection. So that's maybe where, yeah, just a little add to the energy of Libra.
Yeah, thank you. Very useful for understanding the Libra placement. Thank you. So let's dive into them. We'll go first with the 46. As you said, 46 is the one making this transition from the Virgo to the Libra. And it's one of the keys that I find many times in the profiles of people who do body work, or in the profiles of people who are into Tantra, who are into exploring the body as a vehicle for enlightenment and as a vehicle for the next layer in a way of knowledge. So we have the shadow of seriousness, the gift of delight, and the city of ecstasy. And yeah, ecstasy, I think, says it all, the delight and ecstasy, that switch from just being too serious in the life and in the body to just breathing and getting in contact with this beautiful vehicle we have and can get us further. It's in the channel with 29, so I think many times this super tantric beautiful energy is about saying yes to life and to knowing what to say yes to. It's like, if it's like a yes, a soft yes, maybe it's a better no than yes. If it's a total yes, if the body says yes, if it's that happiness that just brings the joy and the delight, then 46 is happy too. So many times they work very beautifully together, or this is how I saw it in the clients I work with. What's your view on it? What's 46 for you? And also, you want to show us the image?
Yes, here's the image. You know, what makes me a little bit sad is that even a picture like this that is so beautiful, I've started to be afraid that if I share something like this on Facebook, then it's going to say this goes against the community standards, because there is something with that tantric, beautiful, sensual part of us that often becomes censored, which is so sad. You know, there are like movies that are really scary and really a lot of like violence in that you can watch from you are like a child, but things that have to do with the beauty of the body and our sensuality sometimes gets, for what I think, censored in a way that isn't helpful. So for me, it's the nakedness and the beauty of that nakedness, and also, like you're saying, to be so alive in the body, so it doesn't really matter what life takes you. It's there is no failure, there is no success in the sense that you're so in tune with life, so every experience that you have, you're growing from it, and that is the reason, that's the purpose. And I believe as well that for the 46, it's about letting go of the expectations, because when you have expectations, you don't really feel like, often nothing goes like what you expected, and then you don't feel like you're lucky. And this is the serendipity, we call it the rainmaker as well, because it has that ability to be in the right place in the right time. And that also comes from not holding so tight at the expectations of how things should be. That's a beauty for me with the 46. And also, like you were saying, connected to that 29. And the commitment comes from the 29, but really that kind of determination of really, this is the direction, this is the experience that we are fully in together in until it's until the end. That comes from the 46. It has that determination, that kind of, pushing upwards. And I have it in my EQ, which it's been hard sometimes because I have the 25 in my IQ, and that those programming partners of constriction and seriousness. I think a lot of those years in the Venus sequence we speak about those years between the 21 first years. For me, since I have them coding 7 to 14 and 14 to 21, IQ and EQ, I believe that the shadow of constriction and seriousness really ate a lot of the beauty of those years for me. And I was very serious in school. I was very afraid of failing. I have a 32 as well. I'm very afraid of failing. So I think I lived a half life in many ways. And I always had, though, the connection to the 46. I knew that life was ecstasy. I was longing for the summer when we were going to go to Spain and I could eat peaches, that are so tasty from the sun, and just be on the beach. But the whole year I didn't allow myself to live anything like that. I was in complete constriction because I needed to have A+ in school, because if somebody, if I had another grade written kind of in my face, I didn't, life was so serious. School, which isn't even life, I made something so serious that wasn't. Most teenagers are like, oh, I like this subject, I don't like this subject. But I had some kind of constriction there where I couldn't see it's just school, it's just a grade. So I know how it is to be, how it is to be locked in the shadow frequency here. And my way back was through Tantra, absolutely, through that way of seeing it doesn't really matter. The result doesn't really matter. It's a continuous discovery of life. If I can say yes to every moment. And that third line in my 46 sometimes have to be in weird situations, in uncomfortable places. And that's what I feel the ability. It has a lot of bandwidths because it has Virgo, it has Libra. The 46 is very rich in that way. And it knows how to face life. So very, unnecessary to box yourself in, big yes to life and all the widths of what life can be is what it feels like for me.
Beautiful. No, I wish I had it too. Can we exchange the profiles for a week? What I wanted to say here, so what I wrote for today, I also wrote the minerals or the crystals. I started exploring with that part too. And for those of you who want to know more, they are on the Gene Keys page. I think there's also an index with the crystals. Many times I see that I have clients who like to work with their placements in alternative ways. So placing the crystal of a key might do something for you that week. Maybe it calms you down. Maybe it balances your energy. So I also wrote the crystals of the activations we talk about. So the crystal for 46 is ruby, and it was so much red in the picture. It's ruby, and it's such a beautiful crystal to work with the energy of the body and to work with the sensual part and the relationship part. So try it, see it if it does something for you this week. And also thank you for mentioning the 25. As you know, I like working with the sacred seals, and whenever I know a key is a programming partner of a sacred seal, that is a huge healing couple there, programming partners that do healing. So 46 and 25 have a lot to do with healing through love and healing through the love of the body and universal love. So yeah, take a look. Maybe you have 25, those of you who watch, and then 46 can be a way of healing for you too. Okay, let's go to 18. So 18 is the second Libra gate or key. And it's one that really surprised me, so much. We start with the sensual energy of 46 and then 18. What's 18 doing here? What I would like to start with is I felt that the tarot cards have a lot to do here with the 18, the importance of judgment, the tarot card judgment and the many faces of that card. I think that helps a lot when you start looking further in the 18. So if you have tarot decks, pick the 18, see what it means to you, because Libra is visual and to the senses. So just look at the card, see what happens there. I've always found this calling to look at that card. I don't know why, but with 18, it always called me. So 18, I think, is the Libra energy that has a lot to do with exactly that integrity and that balance we spoke about in the beginning. Like, is that integrity for me and the other? Am I just judging? Am I just in the head having opinions and judging? Or am I just spotting something that's not right? And that's not maybe moral, because Venus has a lot to do with morality too. So I think the gift of 18 is just to keep integrity and morality. And many times I met people having 18 that just correct you at the course. They're like, no, you didn't say the right word here. And that's their energy, to be sure that what you speak about is integral in a way. It's, but do not make a mess out of it. Make it fair and make it balanced. And the seed is perfection. We are all looking for that, the balance and the perfection. And I think it's a very different way of seeing perfection, not the Virgo type of perfection, but Libra is about balance. Perfect means that, those energies, oh, finally, they are aligned. Finally, what's in me and outside me, it's in balance. And I'm living my life with integrity, and that brings perfection. It's in the channel with 58. I don't have, I do have 18 in my Lilith, but I do have 58, I think 2 times. And many times 18 and 58 have this obsession for perfection, have this obsession for evolving in a perfect way and putting that pressure. It can be, at least 58 can put that pressure a bit on themselves. Yeah, how is it from your perspective?
Yeah, I love everything you said. And I'm going to bring up again, it's a little bit different, the graphics here, the art, but you can see, we call it the perceiver in the 64 keys. And that ability to judge or to know comes from the ability to perceive. So here we had 2 pictures, and you're going to see that there are like some differences in the picture. So that is what for the 18, that's really easy to be like, okay, this doesn't match, or this is happening. And I think that the beauty of the 18 is when it comes to a level of awareness, when it doesn't feel like it has to point out everything that's wrong, because that's when it can become heavy. But instead, in the I Ching, it's working on what's been spoiled. So it has that ability to heal, is what I feel. It's in the again, going back to the Venus, if the 46 is the 7 first years, we're really developing in a physical sense. Here we have the years when we're developing a lot, like mentally, from psychological and mentally. So that is from 14 to 21. And it's being able to keep that like stretchable, like teenagers are actually, kids and teenagers can be very stretchable. When you go to high school and people start to judge you and you start to point fingers at each other's, like that's when you kind of become rigid. And that's not what the mind is for. The mind is beautiful and there's so many possibilities to see things. So when the 18 can have that view, like that's what the true IQ is. And there's also what you were saying about healing, you were saying about health and balance. I also feel when it comes to the Venus sequence, it has to do with the balance between those parts of us, the mental part, the emotional part, the physical part, the spiritual part. It's almost like the 18, I think they could become a good psychologist, because they could actually see in people those different parts, and they could help people to work with their inner child, like the parts the parts where the adult hasn't like really taken responsibility for the inner child. So I believe that's how we write about it actually in the archetype, that the 18 can be really good allies for an adult to help you reclaim your own childhood. And it has to do actually too, in a human design sense, about authority and about not taking some other authority, but kind of go with your own judgment, which is positive. So there can also be some healing, like who did decide for you when you were a child? Like what are the parental conditionings that now you're like ready to let go of, so that you can be free, and also free as a parent to educate, to be there for your own children. So for me, it has a lot to do with that, the developmental phase, especially in psychology, and also like a balancing, a healing, the beauty of Libra, kind of bringing balance, bringing integration, bringing harmony, and healing fragmentation is what it feels like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Beautiful. I'm so inspired by the image. Yeah, I know it's very different from the other ones, but it's so inspiring. Like I think we all had in our childhood that kind of, hey, spot the difference between. So it feels like, oh, let me do the exercise. What's so interesting is the programming partner of 18 is 17. I know lots of people that have 17, and I think here it's like a secret weapon that 18 has, that 17, the programming partner, that ability to use even clairvoyance, or that eye that sees stuff. This is what I was thinking at when I saw the image. I was like, oh, imagine someone having 17, how they will see it so fast. So yeah, it's such an interesting combination. Sometimes you just see stuff fast.
Yeah, and I believe that is a similar pair, like we're speaking about the 25 and the 46 before, and how they can kind of in the shadow frequencies, constriction and seriousness. And I believe that the opinion and the judgment of the 17 and the 18, like it's a similar loop that you kind of can get stuck in, and then they are kind of holding each other there. But like you say, they're also allies on a higher level, where we have that farsightedness and that integrity of that expansive way of seeing life, and of introducing that expansive way to others. So yeah, beautiful.
The stone here is olivine. It's very similar to peridot. It's a very light, almost yellow greenish light one. It's a very beautiful one. Search it, see if it does stuff for you. And I'm a fan of peridot. Olivine, I haven't found it here, but I think even peridot can work good on this. But anyway, check those two and see how they feel. So moving forward to 48. 48, it's one of the keys I love most. Sometimes even when I work with my clients, I know that it's best to try to be objective, but whenever I see someone with a 48, I'm like, oh my God, I love this profile. It's one of the keys that just makes me so enthusiastic. So 48 is, oh, you can't even speak about 48. I like to name the 48 the urban shaman, the shaman that lives in the city in a way. I find it's that combination between the sociable part of Libra many times and that deep knowledge of the shaman. I think Libras many times they might seem very social, and they're out there charming, and people might forget that actually they have a lot of knowledge, a lot of deep knowledge, because relating to people brings a lot of knowledge. I find 48 in charts of extraordinary psychotherapists, extraordinary people who work with other people and guide them in very deep processes. So I love this key. It's, for me, I'm super enthusiastic when I see it. Yeah, so I was anyway speaking with you, Bella, some weeks ago about that. I think maybe if when the transit will be, we can make a meeting with people having 48. I'm fascinated by those people, so I will just stay there and look at them. The shadow is inadequacy. The gift is resourcefulness, and the CD is wisdom. It's a great combination. I find that many times these people just need that start to not feel inadequate anymore, because they might be so profound and so deep, and just, children that had a lot of knowledge, or children who were very open to the influence of stuff in their family. And it's like, why do I feel all that? Why do I go deeper and other people don't? So when they can just, you trigger that start and they start to use those resources. My boyfriend has it in his moon, and he just learns much faster than I do. We start about speaking crystals. He will just pick the right one, and he knows nothing about it theoretically. So people having 48 many times just, grasp this knowledge. It's like, okay, I just see what resource I need, this one. And wisdom, of course, they're many times wise beyond their years. And yeah, it's just a fascination. I have 16 in my pearl, so it's one of the channels that makes my split. I'm just in complete amazed. I'm completely amazed by this energy. So yeah, how do you feel it?
I love that. And I think sometimes we don't give that much credit. Like you're giving a lot of credit to the 48. And I love that with you. That's why one of the reasons why I love to do these coming together, because you're so enthusiastic about all of them, you know? And so
16 is enthusiasm, like, woo! Yep.
exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna share because I think sometimes we don't give it so much credit, and we might, see more of that kind of inadequacy of it. So here is what we choose, what Ashley created for the 64 doors. And I like it. We're calling it the librarian because it has that depth. And I love also what you said about the shaman in the city, because if you go into library, you don't expect that you're going to meet a shaman, but then there is that person that maybe worked there for 25 years and know about all the secrets and about all the magic that is there in that library, in the books, and even on this third floor, there's just something that is a well of wisdom, is a well of also of a kind of magic. And so I like when I see this image, I'm like, yeah, that could be the 48. And it's also about taste. So in the splenic center, we have a lot of the senses. So here we have taste, and this is taste. Not only that it's like a gourmand and it loves to eat really beautiful food, but it also has taste in how to organize things, in how to dress, in how to it has that like taste around it. And that's also why it's a little bit sad, that sometimes it feels inadequate, because actually it has a lot, and sometimes I believe that the 48 doesn't see that in themselves, especially if they don't have the 16. If we want to go back and speak a little bit about, again, in the Venus sequence, this would be 7 to 14, and this is sad too. This is when kids start going to school, and they probably have never thought before about the red pants or the blue pants, or they are just like happy in life playing, and then they go to school and suddenly somebody says that red pants shouldn't be, that there is something where they feel judged, and then the inadequacy comes in. And we know that, like, especially, I mean, you and I are both very international, and from the beginning, I had my mom in Sweden, my dad in Spain, and there were things in Sweden that were completely normal and that you would wear, but then you can't wear them in Spain. Like, there were these things, and you could easily have felt wrong for that as a child. So I can see that age, that conditioning. And here is where I understand, where for so many reasons I understand why parents would do homeschooling, but this is one of them, because when you have lived in a more protective family, cousins environment, and then you come to school, it's kind of very cold, can be very cold, very much a shock. And that is a shock that we can see in all of those lines of the EQ, which can be self-sabotage, can be the lack of courtesy or aggression. All these keynotes that we have there are kind of telling us that shock that the child has when it has to affront the world, and it doesn't maybe have that emotional cushioning in knowing how to receive that. And that's where the 48 goes into the shadow of inadequacy. And at the same time, the kids that somehow find a way of not really caring about those like comments, these are the kids that have the biggest toolbox. That is the resourcefulness of like, I'm still playing with life. There's so many opportunities, so many possibilities. And that's what I can see in the 48 as well. And I think I'm going to take this down. There's one third thing that I wanted to go into, and that is more, now we go into maybe the most feminine of all keys, that lives deep into the form, deep into the body. And here are the lights where I felt like I would like to do some kind of priestess, initiation or like activation with you, because this is feeling so deeply into the form, that process of involution, consciousness coming into that deep place and deep wisdom. And for me, it's incredible when this Jinky can say, actually, I don't have a preference if it's ecstasy and pleasure, or if it's excruciating pain. I'm here for the whole experience. It kind of comes after that 46 in the sequence. Like, I'm here for it. And I think about the woman that's giving birth, you know, in a way that is probably one of the most painful experiences. And at the same time, is so deep and so alive. And that is, for me, that's the ultimate wisdom and the ultimate, you know, expression of this 48. That for me, it's like, yeah, it's so beautiful, and it's so powerful, and that is, you know, for me, that is, there's a depth of that kind of spirituality too, that doesn't have a preference, but just as yes to life fully, whatever it is.
Thank you. I love the image with the library. I'm obsessed with libraries. For me, it was like, whoa, this is one of the first places I came. Oh, a dragonfly is flying. Hi. It's one of the places I felt going to when I came here in America. I was like, I need to go to a library. So I'm almost every 2 days I'm exploring a library, searching for the 48 energy. So yeah, thank you. That's very inspiring. The mineral or the stone here is the pearl. And yeah, that's just beautiful. Imagine the delicacy of this energy and how profound it is, and how feminine. Here I wrote the animals too, because I find them very very interesting. So we have the whale, we have the owl, and we have the oyster. All of them are amazing creatures. Me, with the whale, I always had a fascination with the whale. So when I found it's the animal of 48, it was wow. Last year I saw them in nature, and I can't describe the feeling, like that vastness of the water and the space where they live, and the fact I saw orcas, and the fact that they hang out in families and communicate with each other. And I was just amazed. Yeah, so 48, this is the sensation I have with 48. It's full of surprises. It's like you think you know them, bang, something comes more. It's like, wow, that resources. So yeah, pretty ones. Okay, let's move to the next one, to 57. So 57 is going from unease to intuition and clarity. It's one of the activations that really intrigues me. I do have a sensation each time I read it or listen to it. It's like the first time is, well, haven't I heard this before? No, not sure. It's the key that activates my descendant. I have an Aries ascendant and the Libra descendant. It was very interesting when I had the Delta position for 57. I felt that's the moment when I got more in contact with it. What I love about 57 is the acoustic part. How important for people having 57 is to like the voice of someone, to like the tone the other one uses. And I think this is not here just in 57. Libra, I find, is very sensitive to the tone you speak to them. Like many times, my clients having Libra placements, especially 57, said they were in a fight and they didn't like the tone of the other person. Or, well, Libra doesn't like to be in a fight, but the fact that the other one didn't speak with a tone that was right, or that kind of extra, it's like, hey, calm down. And the effect of too much noise that the 57 hears is that it gets them a bit out of their intuition. They don't hear it anymore. So yeah, I feel I still have to explore this key. It's one that's very intriguing for me, but if people having 57 would like to share, I'm here to listen. My hearing is here to listen. But I find that's a very profound key, and the intuition of 57 is just amazing. When they get that clarity, it's super on point. When someone with 57 says, this is it, this is it. But yeah, I feel that the sound is important. Being in nature, clearing the air with good sounds. I feel that works for my clients with 57. What's your view on it?
I believe that this key is one of the reasons that the gene keys exist, because this is Richard Rudd's core wound, his vocation. And he put this key as the code, the gene key that codes the vocation, because he believes that this is what represents the core wound of humanity, that unease, that hearing what could happen and kind of live in the low frequency with that unease and the fear of tomorrow. And I would say that when you live there, it eats away your life. Similarly, like we were speaking about with the 25 and the 46 in the shadows. And I happen to have the vocation, this core wound as well in the 57 in the fourth line for me. Richard has it in the first line. And I also have it in my Saturn on the personality side. So for me, it's very, very present. And I do believe that it could have eaten up my life. I could have lived forever in unease, because there is enough to live in unease for. We just have to turn on the television, or there's so many reasons. And I think you saw the dragonfly flying by before, Adela, and I feel like this is where the 55 comes in and says, yeah, you can see everything like it's falling apart, or you can see everything as a transformation and that things are falling together in a new way. And I think that is the shift we have in the 13 as well. You can hear everything, and it is a pessimism that comes, or you can hear everything and you can hear between the lines and have an optimism. Like those different, all these jinkies, the 55, the 13, and the 57, it's like you have a choice. You cannot not hear. Like it's not possible to not hear with the 57, but you can actually tune into what the wind is telling you. And sometimes you don't hear the subtle wind because you're kind of listening to the storm or something. There is something with also listening under some of the noise. And I think when you're saying that, it's very, sometimes I'm on a webinar and somebody's showing something, maybe they're like showing something physical, but like you say, there's something with their voice that just really distracts me and I can't stand. And then if I turn off the thing and I can just like maybe follow how they move, then I can find my harmony again. So very much similarly to the 50 we're going to speak about too, it can feel when something is slightly off harmony. And I mean, the way back into the gift frequencies to start to listen to that, to your intuition, listen to that gentle wind. I also think for me, there's a double thing because I have a fourth line in my vocation in the 57. It's gentleness. It's the gentle wind in the I Ching. So for me, the best way of starting to listen to intuition, it's a gentleness. Because if you're not gentle, you can be like, no, oh, you're so sensitive. That's not a problem. But if you start becoming softer, if you start becoming more gentle, that's when your intuition can become, in a good way, more loud and speak to you. And I would like to change the city back to what Richard had originally, which is clairaudience, because I believe that really it's about hearing the truth and knowing that the truth that you hear is your truth. It's not necessarily the truth for everybody, but the only truth you really need to have here as a being is your own truth. So clairaudience is a very good word for the higher frequency of this gene key. I think I'm going to show the art, which is like kind of a little bit abstract for this, but I'm going to show it. And then if you have anything you want to add as well, Adela.
Let's see it. Okay. Nice. So different.
Yeah, and this is Dora Rodriguez. I think that maybe we asked people or something. I don't actually remember how we choose this, but there is something about the rose that is very subtle, and that has there is something with like the layers, the subtlety, the mystery, the beauty, I guess, of the rose that we could say kind of
yes, very nice.
Into the 57.
Pretty one. What I felt like adding about 57 is the stone. The stone is the topaz, and there are many types of topaz. It's a nice one. It's very pretty. Any Libra would like a topaz. It looks very pretty. The animal here is the bat. And I think the bat, as we already know, a lot is spoken about the bat and the sensitivity they have to noise and to hearing and their special way of communication. I think that's very relevant for 57 here. So it's a very nice energy. The bat, I think we have to learn from him, from him or her, whatever they are. And the programming partner is 51. That kind of awakening the 51 brings, I think it's very much related to intuition and to knowing when you can bring that that shock, that profound energy of the 51. And what else I like, it's the other gate that makes my split. It makes my split with 10. So I usually attract people having 57 or 48. It's wherever I find them there, they have 57 somewhere. And what I love about 57, that it makes both this channel with 10, but it makes the channel with 34 too. And with those two, or is it with another one too?
With
This
10,
is
with 20 and 34.
Okay, the three of them, yeah. I think it's an interesting versatility here for the 57, and I think it's very different. So someone that has 57 and 38 will be very different from someone having 57 and 10, or so it's a very versatile energy in the 57.
Yeah, I have the 34 twice. So for me, there it's that like the spleen and the sacral, and it's very kind of physical. And that's also where I kind of know my body can respond to like something very quickly and kind of get out of a place where it's not, you know, where things are not healthy. Like you know, yeah, there is just something that it's very powerful how it's instinctive and kind of how it goes with your life force, and it just takes you out of where it's not good for you to be.
Good, we have the spleen.
And I have one more thing. I was looking because Ashley, when you said topaz, Ashley gave me a little, like a stone in a little necklace last year for my birthday, because it's my vocation. And we had we were going to have a conversation with somebody that was in our groups, and it was like wasn't really a conflict, but it was a conversation that needed to be had, and we knew that we were not on the same page. And I was like, okay, you know, kind of that diplomat of the Libra, let's just come together and speak about it. And I happened to have the necklace on me, so I told Ashley, I'm having this that you gave to me, and she's like, I'm gonna go and put it on too. And she has the 6, which is the diplomat, but you know, it's kind of a lot of friction in the 6. She has that in her life's work. So she put it on. We had this conversation, and afterwards it was just so beautiful because we leaned into the conflict, or we leaned into the unease, which is that shadow frequency of the 57. We leaned in, and we listened, we were open. And then the person that was there with us, she thanked us, you know. And Ashley afterwards is like, wow, now I can see leaning into the conflict is the best. She's like, and I learned this about me, and I learned this about me, and I learned this about conflict resolution. And it was so easy. And it was like 25 minutes of our life, but it really took us into like out of that unease, and just knowing you can have clarity in 25 minutes if you allow it, you know. And the gentleness, the openness, the willingness to lean in, and to not just like, okay, this is how it is, this is my judgment, like not go into the shadow of the 18, but really leaning in. So yeah, I think the topaz helped us, and it's powerful.
Beautiful. I can imagine that energy, and I can imagine if someone provoked your 28, 38, it's too much. That wouldn't help. Like, okay, I'm a Libra till I'm not anymore. Okay, so let's move to the 32. 32 is going from failure to preservation and veneration. It's one key that, I think it's, you know, 55 and sometimes even 32, I feel that they have to be romance. 32 has so many, I can't necessarily say layers, all of them have layers, but 32 is very, very special. There's something about 32 that has to be romance. It doesn't show easily. So yeah, you have that failure, it's in your face. Oh yes, I'm afraid, but there's much more than that here in the 32. what I'm fascinated about 32 is, what fascinates me about 32 is I find it a very different shamanic energy. So we have the 48, that's a great shaman in their own way. And 32, I find it's that shaman that's very connected with the ancestors. Many times I've seen my clients' profile that have 32, they sometimes have karmic diseases or karmic matters. It's what do you preserve, what do you conserve, what do you get from your ancestors, and how do you use that information? Many times I saw the ability here to talk with the plants, to talk with animals, to use that kind of, I don't know, I'm here in nature and I'm preserving my garden, for example, or I'm here in this family because there's some quality I have to preserve and in a way keep that gentle flower of knowledge. So that's what fascinated me about 32. When my fiance has it in his EQ, so he bought this garden where I'm here now. And when he told me why he bought the garden and the house, if when we digged, it was just that he really loved the energy that this person put here. And he said, hey, this is something I want to preserve. And many times 32 has, because it's a very splenic key, it has that intuition, hey, this is value here and I want to preserve it. And yeah, this is what I see very strongly here. So the failure, it is there. I see it sometimes in the profile, is that fear that what if, what if it won't be a success? What if, but there's much more than that in this key. It's, yeah, it's a nice one. You said you have it somewhere, or you're, what do you want to share about it?
Yeah, I have
Give,
it.
give us.
It's my conscious Pluto in a fifth line, and I don't have that many fifth lines in my chart. And I also have it in my design Saturn, so it's my stability sphere, in a second line. So those lines that I don't have in my normal hologenic profile are suddenly there. I was fascinated what you said about the shaman, because I don't think everybody's seeing the 32 as that, especially not in the human design sense. So I'm going to show everybody. So this is a dear friend of mine who created this art, and there's music. I'm just going to put a little bit, but it's very like very tribal music, and he and we know each other because we were traveling with ayahuasca. Like we were organized. He was organizing ceremonies, and I was there. I don't even know why I was there, but it was part of my journey for a while. It's like it was really part of my initiation. And I mean, that is plants. It's plant spirit speaking directly to us. And also I can see that when you decide to do these kinds of things, I am sure, and like I'm certain that you have a karmic load that you're here to work with, and that there is something, that also the question about failure, there is something around that. And let's see if I can find it. I was reading before about 32. I might not have it here. Well, here it says, finally, our deepest fear is the 32, the fear that we will not ever be able to make the leap into our heart and free ourselves from the heaviness of the past. It's the fear that we will fail. That is very karmic and very heavy, and that's what Richard writes in the 7 years of deconditioning. So I believe that for me, this is very, very linked to what I spoke about before when I said 25, 46, constriction, and seriousness. Like, yeah, of course, I was afraid of failing, even in a way, the things that for other people wouldn't have been so deep. For me, it was deep. For me, failure has always been about life and death. I thought it was in this lifetime my mom's health. I was a child. I was 4 years old. I had to call the ambulance and things like that. But actually, I believe that just is, in this lifetime, it comes from before. So a deep sense of what's worth preserving, but there can also be, from what I feel like with Pluto, I have kind of a little bit of a bug in the system. So I can attach failure to things that aren't really failure. So to be careful with that 32, to to kind of more go into what's worth preserving, or in not like, oh, restrict your life because you have the fear of failure. I'm gonna just see if there's anything. I mean, I think that the last thing I want to say about it, because I know we're almost in an hour now, it's that veneration of life. So if you've ever done any ceremony, whether it's plant medicine or just your own beautiful energy, it's that veneration for life. Like you come out and, I remember my first plant ceremony, like I put my nails in the ground in Mother Earth. And I was so grateful. I was so grateful for her. I was so grateful for life, for my hands, from being able to like touch this earth in such a way. And that is the veneration. That's the highest frequency of the 32. Knowing the value, having the reverence, the respect, the veneration, which comes from Venus as well, like speaking about astrology and where we are in the wheel. That's really inherent in this key.
Yes, it's a nice one. I like it too, and I'm happy you shared the image. Yes, I that's very close to how I see 32 too, like that shaman that uses plants, and as I said, a different type. It's not as 48ish. It's a very different one, and yes, beautiful ones. I wanted to say about first the bird associated is the vulture, the vultur. It's in Romanian, the vulture, and such a complex bird. Like I'm fascinated with birds. I read a lot about birds, and this one is, yeah, read more about it, or if it appears, because for example, I was visiting a museum with my boyfriend, and when he saw an image of the vulture, he was like, "Oh, I love this bird!" And yeah, he has it in his profile, in his activation. He didn't know, but many times you might like an animal or a bird, and it's there in your in your DNA in a way, that kind of message. And the stone is, I don't know it. It's not popular in Romania, but it's named Idocrase. I don't know it. I never worked with it, but maybe people who are familiar with the mineral world know it. So yeah, that's the 32. Let's move. And and the last one, I wanted to say that it makes the channel with 54. I have 54, so again, I look for people many times with 32, and it's one of the channels I make with my boyfriend. For me, what 32 brings, because 54 always wants more and wants to go higher. 54 32 brought that energy that calmed me down, like, hey, this is what we should preserve, and this is, so like, not always want something more if what we have is valuable and can be kept. So I think it's a very, on this earth, as you said, energy, very calm energy. Okay, let's move to the last one. The last one is 50. So 50 is the key that makes the cusp towards Scorpio, the ones we'll do next month. 50 goes from corruption. Oh, that's a strong one. Corruption, equilibrium, and harmony. I remember this one too is associated a lot with the sound and with the balance and the inner ear. It's a very interesting key. And here I find with 50, I think harmony is the word I resonate most with. I think it's like, because it's the last Libra key, I think it encompasses this harmony that Libra is here to bring, that kind of equalizer effect. If stuff are aligned, you will keep your balance in a way, being connected with the inner ear. If you're not balanced, you get corrupted in a way, corrupted with yourself, corrupted with others. So I think it's a very fine tuning here we have in 50. It's like the quintessence of the Libra, and what does balance really mean, and what does equilibrium mean for each of us. So yeah, a great equalizer for all of us. How do you see it like? Do you have it? Do you want to share?
This is my only first line in my whole entire matrix. So out of 26 activations in my human design, this is my unconscious Pluto. So you can't go further away. It can't be hidden. It's a planet that was discovered in 1930. So it's like, it's really that place of our unconscious, like really really far out. And however, though, I see that 50.1, which is the foundation of the hexagram, I see it as some kind of, really, really powerful, deep, inherent responsibility. When we look at the circuitry of the body graph, here we have we have tribal circuitry, and we have that responsibility nurturing of the tribe, of the children. On the other side, with the 59 and the 6, we have the reproduction, but here we have the education, the responsibility, the nurturing. And I can feel that deep inside of me, that I feel, I don't know, where it comes from, but I have that coloring of Illuminati, which is the 50 and the 44. I feel this deep sense of responsibility for humanity. It's like, it's just there. And I'm here finding other people on that fractal that are going to work that grid with me. And it's there. I don't know where it comes from, but it's there. And that's what I feel the 50 is. And I've heard, I think there are different keys that might have that effect, but I've heard people that spend time with me, whether, somebody stays in my house for a while, or it's at a festival and we share, same part of the house, maybe. People come into certain harmony when they I actually heard this about Taurus as well, that we have like kind of this way of organizing ourselves in time that is really harmonious, so that people can fall into our harmony. But it may be some kind of Venus, thing. So what I've heard is that people, just by being in my aura, kind of can feel that healthy rhythm, which goes for me together with the harmonious song of the 50. It's like they wouldn't play music that's false. We call it the maestro in 64 Dwarfs, and it's that music that is like, the tones are very harmonious and well together, and it can have that impact on the whole orchestra to make it play in a more harmonious way.
Do you want to show us the picture?
Yes, it's our reflector friend, who's born on the same day as me. So she's a cross of the Sphinx, and she created this for the maestros. It's very, like, there's a depth to this and an illumination to this, for sure.
Wow, beautiful. I like it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And coming from a reflector, you can imagine how much wisdom is there. Whenever I think about 50, I'm thinking about the classical Romanian weddings, where music is so loud, like if you want to speak with the other person next to you, you can't. So many times, as with 57, even 50 is very sensitive to sound and to too much. So it's the same need to, from time to time, just not necessarily have silence, but have the right rhythms. And I think listening to music that just clears the head, clears the message, is important for both 57 and 50. So here the mineral is damburit. It's a beautiful one. I have one at home. I remember from the moment I touched it and I saw it, it's a very strong one. It's transparent. It looks similar to the normal crystal, but it's very strong, very powerful one. And I think this key is powerful because it goes towards that Scorpio energy. It does some business here. And the last thing I wanted to say about 50 is there's something that impacted me this weekend. I did my floral remedy, the Bach remedies course. I want to start using them in my work. So vibration and energy is very important for me in what I do. And I was surprised that the one that came with the system, Bach or Bach, they say, depends who pronounces the name, he destroyed all his work. So he said, hey, you only have to know the quintessence of my work. And these are the books, the quintessential truths I came to after 50 years of life. And he destroyed all the rest and no one understood. They were like, what? Of course, he's a Libra. He was a Libra. And the way he explained it really resonated with the 50, I think. He said that corrupting information is worse than destroying information. So he said that I prefer not having information that will get corrupted through time by other systems, other people adding all kind of twisted truths to that. Better destroy what's not relevant and just keep the simple, essential part that can bring harmony and wisdom. So yeah, this is what I felt like. Oh, that's 50. So many, and this is why I think it goes towards the Scorpio, because there's something about knowing when something is corrupted and maybe it has to be just destroyed. It's not good anymore. Just yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I can really feel like it can feel the data corruption. And like there are some things with my mom. She's a 5-1 and she's very analytical. And sometimes she's gonna be like, Bella, but like why can I send her sometime a documentary or something about, and she's like, okay, now you have to call me. Like usually we do a lot through WhatsApp, but like now you have to call me. Can you explain this to me? And like, why is this? And I'm like, but this is, for me, it's just common sense. The 50 doesn't always actually need an explanation. It's like I can feel it, and maybe because I have in a first line, it's the discernment that something is corrupt, and for me, it's like it's just I kind of laugh at it. I can feel that from the 50, and the same thing like musicians, great musicians, they can feel the slightest off tone. That's the ability of absolutely of this key.
Yep. Well, thank you for listening to us. Thank you, Bella, for co-creating again here with me and for making this space. And yeah, see you next month doing the Scorpio ones.
Yeah,
we can't wait for the Scorpio ones. Woo!
And let's go and see. I think some people are watching. So, and I didn't share it other places and on the Facebook page, but I probably will also cut it in the small pieces so that people can kind of go into the transits. Yeah, it's so much fun. Thank you so much, Adela. I want to go now and I want to go on Amazon or like somewhere else to buy the stones.
Yeah, like just, but it's best to feel them, because with some you won't resonate. Better to touch them.
Yeah, go to a crystal store. Yeah, now I have an excuse to go to crystal store.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you so much. Bye.